It's the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyer Show. Welcome everyone on to Revive FM 94.0. My guest today is Deborah Kelly, an author, TV presenter, multi-award-winning TV presenter, I should add. Hello, Deborah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can see you now as well.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Right. Yes, I was just in the introduction, I was saying that you're a multi-award-winning presenter and obviously well recognized for your efforts and your accomplishments. But shall we start off with your younger years? How did you get into TV and entertainment business?
Good question. I, from a very early age, I would say maybe 14 years old, I always wanted to be a journalist. And I wanted to enroll on the NTCJ, which at the time was, you know, the place to be for people to learn skills for journalism. But I got sort of thrown in actually as a tea lady in a newspaper, which in those days was, you know, was an invite in to actually show your talents. And within 6 months, I was actually turning over 70% of the revenue. And then I went over and I founded or helped to found a sister paper, and that was really the intro into media, and to know that I really loved it, and that was my way forward. Fortunately, over the years, I've been headhunted, and I've been to so many different organisations, you know, MTV, cable television network, Sky TV, and I'd say I was very lucky, but I really knew, you know, the direction that I wanted to go in. It's a passion for me, and I guess one that, you know, has never changed over all of these years.
Right. I mean, it's a bit unusual to have a choice of journalism at that age. What inspired you at that age to actually choose journalism? I mean, normally, you know, just the more popular sort of professions tend to be chosen at that age. So was there someone that you saw, or was there someone in the family that was in journalism? Or?
I think I've always had the ability to talk. At school, when I was set, you know, essays for English, I just loved to delve into the world of just writing books and my imagination, and they commented on it again at a very early age, and art as well. You know, I got an A-level in art. I excelled in art. So everything about expression and expressing myself. And I did it was a student magazine, which I produced at 15. So I think really I've always had this passion to be involved in media. And if I look back at my upbringing, I would just say that, maybe my parents, they were always watching the news, the television was an important part of their lives, but I can't really put my finger on that. I think I was just very gifted in the written word from very young age, and I think I just drew upon those talents.
Right. And moving on from there, did you, from journalism, so where did you go after that?
So I was doing a lot of journalism, and then as a result of that, I got asked to voice quite a few commercials in radio, because I got headhunted by a London radio station, and I actually made the change from Brighton and came to London, the big bad world.
Yes.
But at the time, you had to be in London because the media world was all based in London. So I started on that, and then I put together lots of concepts which were new to television. So there were things like, I came up with the idea at the time, which wasn't something that anyone had done on television before, which was to bring together a TV or a channel and actually promote, say, for instance, winning a free holiday. And I would go to a holiday company, get a free holiday, go back to the TV channel, because of course they needed to, to have readership and viewership on their channels, and they had space which wasn't filled from advertising, so they had these free slots, and we slotted them in, and then I went to a premium rate organizer and developed the concept of viewers being able to phone up on a premium rate number to win a holiday. And from there, it sort of kind of sparked. It was incredible, to things like Stars in Their Eyes, lots of the breakfast shows, and they still use that concept now. But that was one of my ideas, and I had an advertising agency, and in the background, it was just about coming up with these new concepts and these new ideas to actually promote on television.
Sure. And competitive world, the whole that sort of area that you got into must have been quite competitive and not easy to progress.
You actually cut out for some of that, but I think I understand what you said. Yes, it was a very competitive industry, and you were only as good as your next target, and the targets were high. And if you didn't make them, then you were sacked. And that really was, it was a very cutthroat industry. And I think I was lucky because I really loved what I was doing. I broke all my targets. I was responsible for the launch of a magazine for men. And at the time, this is going back 20 years now, I made £750,000 target for them. And then they put me into, well, in fact, I ended up being the group advertising director for 56 magazines. But yes, it was very, very cutthroat. And it was something which I think I really embraced when I was younger, because I really wanted to get to the top of my game. It's certainly not something that I would I would want to do now. Because those days are gone, but at the time it was exciting.
Of course. And then from there you move on to writing. From there, was it?
Well, from there I founded an advertising agency, and I was always editing and doing press releases, and involving different people from different communities, depending on what the article was about. So I think my flair naturally was writing, and that progressed in many years to writing books, founding a beauty school. Obviously, I've got a book that's just been published recently that went to the #1 bestseller within a week, which I'm absolutely over the moon about. But I think, one must recognise their talents. And for me, my talent is in the spoken word and in communicating that word through editorials as well.
Right. Tell us a bit more about your book. What was the reason for you writing it?
Well, Mahtab, that's a really good question because, we've had so many issues. Last year, there was unrest. We had the BLM movement, we had riots, we had the advent of COVID and the pandemic. And it was just a crazy time. And it affected and has affected everyone. Because my background is the fashion industry, and I know there was a lot of mental illness in the fashion industry where people just literally, we haven't had an event since before last March now. And I know that this has caused a lot of issues in younger women. And what I wanted to do was to bring together women and men in a COVID safe environment, and to actually give them the chance to express their fashion and their flair and their modeling talents as they would always do. It was very difficult. It was a question of working out exactly what we could and couldn't do to be regulated by the government and so forth. But the book it's a masterpiece. I love it, and I'd have to because I'm the author, but it's a group of women and men that don't fit the classic modeling genre. So they're every age, they're every creed, they're every colour. We've got an Asian cultural section, and the Asian bride was actually European. And we had an African shoot with people of all different cultures. So for me, my whole message throughout the years has been cultural diversity, and also about age not being a number, because I was talking about it today. A lot of women, when they reach 50 plus, feel forgotten. They feel like they don't have an important role in society anymore. Now I'm 54 and I've been more busy, pre-COVID, of course, than I ever was in my 30s or my 40s. And I wanted to be a spokeswoman for saying, look, here's pictures of women that are 55, 60, and they're still beautiful. Here's a different culture. Here's an African culture. Here's an Asian culture. Here's a European culture. And we're all mixing together in this cultural unity that was important for me to express because of the negative media of last year.
Yes. And to your fashion, was it for a fashion to Pakistan? Or?
Again, you're cutting out, but I think you said about Islamabad, and I was so thrilled. I actually got to present the Islamabad Fashion Week, and the thing is, out of all of the cultural talent that they must have there, I was really humbled by the fact they actually chose me. And yes, they flew me to Islamabad, and I hosted the Fashion Week at the Pakchana Centre in Islamabad, and I absolutely, the thing is, this is where I stand. I got married wearing a sari, and he had a sarong. I like the cultural integration that we have in the community, and so for me, and then I also presented it was a Lawani, it's called, I was an ambassador for Ladies of All Nations, and I presented their show in Morocco, and then I went to Houston and acted as an ambassador in Houston as well for Ms. Diaspora. Wow. So that's really where my passion lies, Mahtab.
Oh, that's very good. So the book was actually written as a result of your experiences, your sort of actual experiences that you had. And you put that down on paper. Is that correct?
Was that for the model diaries, you mean? Yeah. Well, the model diaries, really, I work with so many great people on the stage, and over the years, I've interviewed, actors, actresses, ambassadors, charities, as well as the classical model. And so the idea of the book was something a bit different. It was to honour photographers who I've worked with over the years, and they never get recognition. You know, they're in the background. So whenever there's a post, it's always promoting a model or the event, but never the photographer. And I also wanted to do it by way of almost like a storybook where there would be interviews, red carpet interviews, there would be bios, there would be diaries from people. We've got diaries featured in there, and they will continue through the series because we've been commissioned to do a series, 7-book series, and this is just the first, so that people can really personalize themselves with the people in my book. But not just that, but they can actually understand what is going on in these people's lives, because sometimes I think this industry can look very shallow, and you know, we have this look that we portray to people, but the reality behind that is that we all have struggles, we all have mental illness, you know, people are suffering. My friend has just been diagnosed with cancer. And I think this is the reality, and that's what I wanted to bring to the model diaries. I wanted it to be a really exciting photographic extravaganza of colour and culture. But I also wanted to show the people behind this and the lives that they have and the struggles that they have as well. And I think that's different. You know, I don't think there's ever been a book like that.
Yes. Do you think while before the fact back to normal? I mean, must probably take at least about another year or so, or 2 years possibly.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. Could you say that again?
Do you think it'll take a while before the fashion industry gets back to normal?
Well, I think it's going to take a long time. I mean, we you know, we're looking to Boris, aren't we, to give us our updates and so forth. And he's saying, you know, maybe Easter for certain things. But I mean, there's all sorts of talk. There's talk of maybe a year before people can get back onto the stage, before events can take place. So a lot of it is going along the remote theme for Zoom and Google Meets and so forth, but it's not the same. So for obvious reasons, you know, I'm talking to you and I'm having a lovely time. I know you, Mahtab, so that's good. But if I didn't know you and I wasn't actually sitting in front of you, I think there certainly is this difference from doing everything remotely, and certainly with fashion shows and things like this, it's all but impossible really to get people on the catwalk in these situations.
Yes. Imagine. We're heading for a short break now, Deborah. So if you do stay with us, we will have a short break. Then we'll be back again to hear more interesting stuff from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM,
Turkish Kitchen, the best Turkish food
and welcome back to the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Giveaway program. There is yeah, hi Deborah.
Hello, Mahtab.
All right. I hope we had a nice little break there, so we could.
Yes, little tea break.
That's good. Right. So yes, you very kindly told us about your the book, and so this is your first book, the Model Diaries. This is your first book that you've written, yeah?
No, I've actually written 6.
Oh, I see.
And I've got another 1 plus a half of it written currently, which is something completely different. Actually, it's about issues surrounding the whole explosion of the dating industry and fraudsters that are particularly targeting that. So the Model Diaries Model Diaries UK is the first one in the series. Something completely different. I've been in the industry for so long, and I just thought lockdown was the most perfect time to actually try to bring people together in unity in whatever way they could. I had a marquee up in the back garden. I had walkie-talkies. We were doing outdoor shoots, and everything had to be legal. But just really trying to keep the industry alive or revive it.
Sure. So there are 6 books, in fact, but they're all called Model Diaries 1, 2, 3, 4. What were they?
No, that's a good question. So I actually own a beauty and therapy school, and I also teach degree level medical science. And so the books were actually workbooks. They were manuals, course manuals for students that were attending courses. And so I've done, as I say, 6 of those. And then this one, the Model Diaries, is the 7th one to actually go to print. But I chose a publisher this time, whereas before I'd always self-published. So I wanted a publisher, and the publisher actually is a head of diversity and unity. So he was singing from the same hymn sheet as me, if you see what I mean. And that's why I chose him. So this Model Diaries UK book series is something separate that has been commissioned for a book of 7.
Wow. And so, when do you think your next book will come out? Have you got a time frame for that? Or?
My next book? Do you mean with the Model Diaries?
Yes.
Well, it took me. It was I suppose it was really there in the background for 2 years, but it took me 6 months. I actually wrote every single page, and it wasn't done by anybody but me. I literally sat and I sifted through 15,000 photographs, and out of those tried to put together storyboards and by way of a scrapbook as well. So it takes time, and at the moment we can't meet at all. So I can't get on with Model Diaries Series 2 yet, but it's there for me. As I say, I also have a project for a book which I think is very important at the moment regarding dating fraud, which is, I think was saying on the news or something, it was like 67% increase since lockdown. So that's something else which I'm working on, which I think will be something very, very important to warn women. When I refer to women, because I'm a woman, but of course it's really alerting men as well, because they are also subject to fraud from women too. So I think it's it's just about getting out there and really, really making people aware of these scams.
Yes. I mean, also writing, how have you found it? Because lockdown, we've all got sort of a lot of spare time on our hands. But, the actual process of writing a book, is it arduous? Does it sort of come to you easily, or how did you achieve that?
I think my gift is in the written and the spoken word. I think we all need to learn and understand where our talents are. And I understand that mine is really about expressing myself and also being a spokesperson for other people, like charities and minority charities that, really need to have someone behind them that is not afraid to speak out. It's not an easy task. And putting together a book that is really mainstream and has such a potential, it takes months and months of literally going over and over again. I think that I forgot what sleep was. I was literally working from the moment I woke up until the moment I went to sleep, which was like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And I'm a perfectionist. My father was a sergeant major. I was brought up that way. So I'm always looking at it and saying, well, it's not good enough. And how can I improve it? And in the end, it just gets to the point where you have to say, look, I have to be satisfied with this and I have to publish this now. Otherwise, you'd just be going on and on.
Well, this is the thing, because unfortunately, there are many perfectionists, and the problem is that they never get around to actually completing the book.
That's right.
You've done really well, and actually got it finished. I think there probably comes a time when you just sort of, got to be strict with yourself and say, I've got to do it. And it doesn't matter if there are a few imperfections here and there. Just got to get it out, really.
That's right. I think you're absolutely right there. And, it's never going to be perfect. And even if you think it is, there's always going to be somebody who finds a flaw. That's life. And, you didn't notice it and they did. And then you go back and you look and you say, oh, how did I do that? So nobody's perfect. I think the book represents everything that I wanted to do with the book, which was to bring people together, to culturally integrate, to show that women and men don't have to be a classic size. They don't have to be stick thin. And I brought together ambassadors, actors, actresses, not your classic catwalk models. And I think that the industry needs to change in terms of that. And that's where I am.
Right. You've had some feedback on the book from readers and from other magazines and stuff. Have you had some feedback?
I have. I've done. This is the 5th interview. Well, this is a radio interview. But I've done 4 TV interviews, and I've got some national press from Pakistan and the Asian community, and also the African community that will be publishing some information. And then I've got an agent as well. So we're really hoping to get this, the word out in a bigger way. But it's just a continued expression of where I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I won a BAFTA, not BAFTA, the BAFTA, the Black Entertainment, for my contribution to the world. And I was just honoured that the industry, should recognise me as working in the Black Entertainment world. And this is the whole thing. It's about us all really embracing each other and bringing together this integration, even with the negative press that was received last year.
Yes. How have you gone about marketing your book? Are there sort of platforms that you've marketed your book? How has it become the success that it has?
Well, I've got a publisher, and I put together the book, and I looked at different people that maybe would understand where I am as a person in terms of publishing, because I had quite a few different companies approach me. And as I said earlier, I went for a publisher, Dean Publishing, that was really very into embracing culture, and I felt that was very important for the book. So the book is actually currently on all the Amazon platforms, so it's internationally available, and it's available on my website as well, www.themodeldiaries.co.uk. We have discussed putting it out to the mainstream for WH Smiths and so forth, but at the moment I wanted to keep it small and controllable, just while I went through all the publicity and tested really the success of the book. But there is no limit, so I would very much like to get it into the bookstores and so forth. But again, at the moment, we've got this whole COVID issue of bookstores not being able to be open. So the only way that one can purchase a book at the moment is online. So that's quite important. And then after the success of this as a hard copy, which will be, I've already written it, so it's just waiting for launch. So maybe in 3 or 4 weeks' time, I'll do the Kindle version, just so that people can get hold of a copy easier, they can share copies and so forth.
That's right. Kindle versions are quite popular these days, particularly when people are commuting. They like to sort of have a Kindle version ready at hand and probably more easier to read.
Yeah, I think there's a market. There's certain people that really want to read a hard copy. They want to have that book physically in front of them. But now, because so much has gone internet-wise, and obviously I'm talking to you remotely now, so this is the big kind of explosion of everything being online. So I think Kindle has its place in the fact that somebody can just carry their tablet or laptop or whatever around with them, and they can access all these different genres of books. So I think it's quite important to provide both of those platforms.
That's right. And did you have photographs included in your book? Were there photographs of shows and models? Were there in your book as well?
Well, it's actually it's a photographic extravaganza. That's how I like to say it. It's a series of themed photo shoots which I organised according to the different COVID regulations, because it changed a lot last year. Our first shoot we did in July, and we had an Asian designer, and they're heavily beaded outfits. They're beautiful, they're really high quality, and it was 30 degrees heat, and everybody was falling apart because they were wearing these heavy outfits in this excessive heat. And it was quite interesting, the people didn't really realize how difficult it is to actually get photo shoots during excessive heat. In terms of the photographs in the book, there are themes. So they're all part of my theme photo shoot. So I've used quite a lot of different designers with different themes, and of course culturally diverse models as well. So that's the first book, and within the second, third, fourth, fifth, I'm going to introduce different ladies of colour and diversity, and different designs, different fashion designers as well. So it's quite exciting.
Yes. In your travels, the difference in towards fashion and the way things are done, in this diverse sort of industry, you must have noticed different sort of cultural diversity in the actual fashion shows themselves.
Oh, hugely. I mean, I did the red carpet for the Pakistan Fashion Week 3 years running, and I've done the African Fashion Week, the Islamabad Fashion Week, and the Budapest Fashion Week. And I have noticed much more of a sort of diverse audience. So with things like the Pakistan Fashion Week, the beauty and the intricacy of the outfits has attracted people from every culture and every creed. And I think if we went back 20 years, you know, maybe someone like me would sort of stand back and think, oh, you know, should I be wearing a sari? But now I would happily and do wear saris because they're absolutely gorgeous. And so I think to a certain extent the industry has changed, and I think, you know, it's become much more culturally open for all different cultures to actually embrace and wear these different designs.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. Well, we've had a lot of information in that short span of time, and unfortunately, we come to another break, Deborah, I'm afraid. So do stay with us as we get through this next break, and
Thank you.
be back shortly. Thank you.
This is
Revive FM
94.0 with the latest news from around the world.
Welcome back.
Oh,
Quick one there, I'm afraid. I surprised you a bit there.
that was a quick one.
Sure. So thank you for staying with us and you know, telling us all about the fashion industry and how it's country diverse and across different. In fact, I think you've been to Pakistan probably more than I have. I mean, I think you know, for the Islamabad show you were there, and what was the weather like when you went down at that time?
Oh, it was beautiful. And you know, I was running the show, and I thought I was making a really good job, and then people started leaving.
Right.
And I was thinking, oh, what have I done wrong? And I said to the organizer, is there something, you know, have I done something wrong? And actually at that time, unfortunately, Lahore had been bombed.
Oh, I see.
And I was actually due to go to Lahore the next day, and we couldn't. We had to put it off because Lahore, you know, had been recommended to me as being beautiful and stunning, and this was on our list to go. And so this was a number of years ago. I'm trying to think. I think it was 2017, but at the time there was a lot of unrest. You know, they were checking. There was lots of barricades and armed police officers and things like that. I don't think it's the same now. There was, you know, it was quite a difficult time when I went there, but I absolutely loved it. And our hosts took us to all these incredible, which I won't bore you with, you'll know them if I tell you, because they're famous places in Islamabad, but it was just gorgeous. And if I had my time again, to go and maybe spend a little bit more time, you know, of my own free time, I would love to go and get some of those fabrics and actually bring them back and, you know, make saris from them, because the you know, the fabrics were just die for. They were awesome. And but you know, we were employed to work, and so there was very little free time. You know, I didn't have time to go and buy those fabrics, but I would if I got a chance again.
Yeah, sure. So from all these experiences, do you feel that the fashion industry is the place for you, or will you be getting back into TV presenting again, or what's the plan?
Well, the thing is, my place is on the stage, and I come alive when I'm on the stage. And I think I was writing about this in the book, that it's not everybody's cup of tea. But for me, when I go onto the stage, I want to make the best show that I can from the people that are there. I want to personalize that show to them. So I always integrate my audience into my show in a personal level, which I know is very different. It's not scripted. I really don't work to scripts, and I don't like them, because scripts often can go wrong. You know, the timing may not be perfect. The crowd may not relate to it. So it's really, I really do everything spontaneously, and it's about looking at who's in your show, you know, who's actually sitting there, who bought tickets, who's part of that, and actually relating to them. So each presentation that I do on stage is really, it's completely unique, and I never know what I'm going to do from moment to moment. And that is the fun for me. That's really what I love doing. I love being a red carpet host as well. I love interviewing so many thousands of people, and every single one is different. And again, if it's scripted, it's not real, because two different people are going to have two different lives. There's no point in scripting something. It's not going to fit. So I just look at the person that's standing in front of me, and whoever it is, you know, I then try to relate to that person and how they want to be represented on the red carpet. And to a certain extent, I think that is a gift, maybe, but at the same time, it's about relating to somebody. And I just have this ability through my upbringing, my childhood, and things that have happened to me in my life, to be able to relate to, you know, every single person as if they're an individual.
That's very good. And I think the two awards ceremonies have been sort of postponed, haven't they, because of the COVID-19 situation? So that in itself probably means that a lot of, you know, presenters don't have or haven't had those opportunities that perhaps that they were looking forward to because of the COVID situation.
Yes, I mean, there's just a huge amount of people unemployed. You know, the whole industry is just gone, and any live events. And I did a lot of gala charity events. I think in terms of ambassador and charity awards, I've won probably about 70, I think it is, or 70 plus awards. And it's not like I do them for that, but it's the most amazing thing to be recognised and to do as much as you can for charity, particularly diversity or charities of minority, where it's hard for them to get recognised. It's hard for them to get a name, and you know, and obviously to get supporters as well. And again, that's where I stand in the industry, supporting them and being an ambassador for charities, and really doing my part where I can to actually, you know, help in the promotion of their charities. But nothing is running. You know, as I say, we're running some Skype and Zoom remote meetings and things like that, but it's really not the same as being face to face with people.
Yes. I know you've been champion of charities. And have you ever thought of starting up a charity yourself?
I did. I very nearly set up one, actually. We're going back a long time now, but I got a mystery illness, and you know, I didn't always look like this. Well, this is just a facade anyway. But I had throughout my 30s, which was all but they were written off. I had a skin disorder that looked like I'd been burnt in a fire, and people used to turn away from me, and they turned their children away from me. I mean, it was just, I can't even explain. And when I show photographs to people, they actually don't believe it was me. And it was such a horrendous time. And out of that, you know, I went in and out of hospital. I was in intensive care twice. I was given tons of steroids. I was given drugs that mimicked different things. I was trialed. I was given trials. And through all of that, it was just a vicious circle of really just being ill, going up and then going down. And then, of course, you're given steroids, and then that causes depression. And there was all this knock-on effect of this. And there was a very, very strong point in my life where I did want to found a charity, because there are over 200 forms of eczema. but they only treat it as one. So they will give you steroids and hydrocortisone cream and expect it to respond. And there's a lot of people who it doesn't, respond. So for me, my research, and this is what led to me now teaching medical science at degree level, I wanted to find out what was going on with my body. I wanted to find out why, what was happening, not like the actual cause, here it is on the skin, but what was going on in my body to actually make that happen in the first place. And so, I didn't found it because it happened that I then worked for quite a lot of different charities. And so I was able to speak through those. But, this is just, charity is just such an important part of our lives.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. And after this COVID-19 situation finishes, perhaps you may have an opportunity to start up your own charity. When people are able to get out and about, charity, of course, relies on donation, and at the moment, I'm sure that not many people can donate because they're stuck inside, and unless they was to donate over the internet or something. But charity is a very good cause to support. So, in terms of your TV presenting, I mean, did you do many live programs? I mean, did you find any sort of funny scenarios in a sort of live program that which sort of got out of hand or something? Or when you have a live program, sometimes gets a bit...
Live programs always do. I mean, I don't know about this one, but this could get out of hand. I mean, my favourite is live television, because you are who you are. You can't pretend and you can't hide behind a mask, and anything can happen. And this is what I love. If you're referring to things like my reality TV that I've taken part in over the years, most of that was live. And again, I really love it because you can be spontaneous. It's not scripted, and you can make silly mistakes. So, when we did Ashley Banjo's Secret Street Crew, I was actually about to fly out. I think I was going to Islamabad actually at the time. And I literally had, I think it was 3 or 4 days to put together a group to appear. We were supposed to be called the Beauticians, and, putting together this group and the whole thing, trying to get me to street dance. This was I think I was 45 or older then, and I didn't even know what street dancing was, and I'd got dodgy knees, and when they approached me, I was laughing. I was saying, well, what is it? You want me to do a backflip? So it was very, very funny, and taking place in very, very strange circumstances with strangers, and being televised. Like Ashley Banjo, this is the first thing he said, we didn't know anything about it, and he said, well, I want all of you to dance separately for me in my studio, and we had to go in one by one and dance in front of Ashley Banjo just on our own. And it's like doing a private dance to somebody. It was just crazy, and all of these nerves. That is nerve-wracking experiences, but I really like it, and I like to be thrown in at the deep end. I really don't like things that are staged. So, and again, doing TV presenting as well, and I've been lucky because what I've done is I've been able to ad-lib, which is my favorite, and I've said no to quite a lot of different things where I have to follow a direct script, because again, I just think it takes away that excitement and that communication that you can have between each other as well.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, obviously the famous presenters on TV, such as Piers Morgan and presenters like that, who have that very sort of unique style of presenting, and they try and rub people up the wrong way sometimes on purpose, to try and get that sort of reaction. But in terms of your presenting, did you find that sometimes you to sort of attract attention? Did you have to resort to any techniques or any sort of methods to try and get a a bigger audience or get more people interested?
In terms of what? In terms of people that
Presenting style.
come to the shows, or?
No, in terms of presenting style. I mean, through the years, you must have perhaps, garnered, methods to perhaps, make more people interested in programs. Perhaps, or is it just purely the fact of the subject that you just concentrated on? Is it?
I think it very much depends on what the viewing figures, who you're trying to address, and who are the people that are going to watch your shows. And I think you have to be aware of that and to cater for that. But for me, my emphasis really is on the experience gained over many, many years and learned from illness and so forth, and to be able to go onto a stage. I don't know. I think when I was 30, I would have worried more about what people think about me, and I would stress so terribly about what I did and didn't have to do. Whereas now I can just walk onto stage and run a show. And I'm really pleased. It's interesting because quite often the whole background information about a show they will spend months doing. They'll organise the entertainment, they'll organise the guests, they'll organise the ticketing, the venue, all of that, the design, but they won't actually put anything together for the presenter.
Right.
And this has happened so many times because the presenter is actually probably the most important person in terms of actually getting everybody else into the spotlight, making the show run smoothly. But I've walked into so many shows and they're beautiful. Everything's organised. They've got models in the background. They've having their hair, their makeup done. They've got the show organised, and they haven't actually given me any indication of how that show is going to run. And if I don't have that, technically a show could fall apart because so it's about being able to improvise as well. And to be honest, it's been really difficult on so many occasions. I've just walked on the stage and I don't actually know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm supposed to run the show. I don't know what's going to happen, and I literally take it all as it comes. That wouldn't work for a lot of people. I understand that. A lot of people need to have a proper scripted show. But it happens a lot.
So it sounds like you're describing lawyer colleagues. They walk into court and improvise with what they have and do the best they can.
Don't do that, Mahtab.
Thankfully, I've not done that yet, but you never know. Deborah, we've run out of time. Absolutely fantastic, listening to your experiences and the fashion world. And just remind us again about the title of your book, because I'm sure that people would want to, read more about it.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's called Model Diaries UK, and if you go on to any of the Amazon platforms and then put in Deborah, DEBORAH, old spelling, Deborah space J space Kelly, then you'll see all my books, and it's themodeldiaries.co.uk. And you can look at all little snippets. I've put blogs in there. So again, it's about bringing like the personal element to the people that you see in the book.
Sure. Well, I haven't received my sort of free copy yet. I'll do the post, I think.
Mahtab, you will get a signed copy because you are absolutely awesome. And anybody that's watching this, Mahtab is the most amazing, incredible man. There aren't many genuine men around that say and do exactly what they say they're going to do. But Mahtab is one. So if you need anybody on a legal basis, then I can thoroughly recommend him.
I'm going red now. I'm going red now.
It's true.
Thank you very much for that. It's been a pleasure having you on the program, and I think we ought to have you back again, Brett.
Oh, I'd love to come back, and I'd love to hear feedback, as to what people think about what I'm saying as well, even if it's awful, just so that I know that that I'm making a change
Sure. I'm sure everyone's enjoyed thoroughly your, what you've told us today, and it's been great having you on. And thank you very much. And
Oh, thank you.
thank you very much. And
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all for the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyers Show today, and I'll see you next week.
This is Revive FM 94.